This is episode 262 of Jumblethink.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Jumblethink, where we interview amazing people about their journey of turning dreams and ideas into reality. Along the way, we're going to give you some tips on how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. On today's show, our guest is Erik Cabral. More about Erik in a moment. Whether you're a new listener or a longtime fan, if you haven't subscribed already, right now is your time to do that. Head on over to your favorite place to listen to podcasts and search for Jumblethink. And if you're a fan of Apple Podcasts, it's super easy. Jumblethink.com/iTunes. Now let's jump into today's show. Hey there, welcome to Jumblethink. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have a great show lined up for you today. Today's show is sponsored by our friends over at Penji. They are your source for unlimited graphic design at a low monthly subscription. We love them. I think you will too. To check them out, head on over to penji.co, and as a listener of Jumblethink, use the code JUMBLE, J-U-M-B-L-E, to get 15% off your first month. I am super excited about today's show. Our guest is Erik Cabral. We met at Podcast Row in New York City at Stand Up New York. This interview was recorded live there. It was super fun to get to know him. He's a podcaster too, and the founder of the creative agency On Air Brands. He also is an owner of the real estate investment company Mindando Investment Group, and he hosts and co-hosts several different podcasts, including Entrepreneur Circle, Capital Hacking, Live at the Hive, Real Estate Hackers, and many, many more. This guy knows business, he knows corporate America, and he knows what it takes to be an entrepreneur because he's living that lifestyle. Super excited to have him on. So let's jump into today's conversation with our guest, Erik Cabral. We are with Erik Cabral. He is the guy behind On Air Brands. Erik, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. Before
we dive into rapid fire questions, I want to let our listeners get kind of a lay of the land of who you are and what you do. So give us like the 60-second synopsis of On Air Brands and what you're creating.
So On Air Brands is a creative agency that broadcasts your brand. So what we do is we give you a megaphone for your brand and your message to shout whatever your story is, whatever value you're providing to other people's businesses from the mountaintop. So whether we do that through podcasts or whether we do it through social media marketing or our live streaming events, there's numerous ways that you can partner and work with us so that we can help you in your message.
Super, super cool. We're going to be talking a lot more about that in segment 2. To kick this off, we're going to do some rapid fire questions. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a comic book artist. I wanted to draw Spider-Man. And,
That's pretty, yeah.
I was a big Marvel before, the MCU and everything that's happening in cinema now.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to live during this time to see all of the stuff that I used to draw and, just come to life in ways that you never would have thought would have been possible, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy is all about the next generation, my kids, their kids, how they're going to remember me, what I did in life, using that as an example to put into play into their life and inject whatever it is I did and inspire the next generations. Yeah.
Where do you find inspiration?
I find inspiration, from my family and from the people around me who are doing amazing things. I see them doing things, and I want to help them, or I want to do things that will inspire them. So yeah.
What is one book you think every dreamer and entrepreneur should read, and why?
Yeah, 100%. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad changed my life.
Yeah.
I call it the purple pill.
Yeah.
Morpheus handed, that was the director's cut where he actually had a purple pill and taught everybody about financial freedom and legacy. But that really changed my life. And I was talking on a previous podcast that I had an opportunity to get him on one of my shows, and then he actually endorsed the show, and my name of my show and my name came out of his mouth. And when I heard that happen, I literally started crying.
Wow.
Because it was like, I can't believe this guy who changed my life is aware of who I am.
Wow.
And endorses
Yeah.
me. So yeah, that was a big moment for me.
That's pretty crazy. You've been doing this for a while, but you've learned a lot along the way.
Yes.
So what's that one thing that you wish you would have known when you first started out?
That failing was success in progress. That fear, is something in the mind that we just create obstacles for ourselves. Just knowing that, your instincts and your gut is really what you should be following.
Yeah.
I wish I had known that earlier. And really the failure thing was massive for me as an adult, and realizing that it's okay to fail,
Yeah.
because that was not how I grew up. That just failure is not an option. And, it's just, it was a hurdle.
Wow. It sounds like there's a pretty powerful transformation during that for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Crazy. As we wrap up rapid fire questions, what is one dream you're still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
I want to keep forging the path of being globally known as far as whatever it is I'm doing and whatever my company is doing. We are a global agency since we have clients in Europe, but I want to be a little more ubiquitous than that as far as like what it is we do and how we can help businesses with their message, whether it's me being on stage or doing larger networking events, putting other brands together in a conference. I know there are things that we're doing bigger, and whenever I get with entrepreneurs who have a strong message they want to share with the masses, that's something that I really align with and I see, in our future.
Super cool. We will be right back with Erik Cabral to talk more about on-air brands and what they're creating, talk more about content creation and sharing your message. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be right back. Today's show is being presented by our friends over at Penji. Here is more about them. Penji helps startups, agencies, small businesses, big corporations, and marketing teams achieve more with unlimited graphic design support at one flat monthly rate. Their easy-to-use online platform pairs you with a professional designer and lets you create as many design projects as you want. Think of it as your monthly subscription to top-notch design with no contracts, no hourly billing, just fast, simple, and affordable graphic design for all of your needs. Over the last couple months, we've become big fans of them. They've helped us out with some episode art, with idea camps, logos, and more. I think you're going to love them too, and you should check them out by heading on over to Penji, PENJI.co, not .com, but .co. Use the code JUMBLE, and as a listener of our show, you're going to get 15% off your first month. So head on over Penji.co, use that code JUMBLE, and get 15% off your first month. Now let's jump back into today's interview with our guest, Erik Cabral. We are back with Erik Cabral. We're going to talk about on-air brands. Before we get going, probably one of the most important questions I can ask. How can people find you?
Best ways to reach me through email, Erik, E-R-I-K, at onairbrands.com, or you can just go to our website, see what it is, and check us out there at onairbrands.com.
Super cool. All right, tell us a little bit about the origin stories of on-air brands, and were you an entrepreneur before that, or is this a fresh thing? And how did you kind of have that moment where you went, I think there's something here to go after?
Yeah, I mean, stereotypically, I did have that entrepreneurial bug at a young age. Not a lemonade stand, but I sold candy at school.
Yeah.
My uncle owned a bodega in the Bronx, so he would hand me crates and boxes of candy that wasn't being sold where I lived. So I did that, and then he also, it's all really my uncle who was an entrepreneur. He would give me fireworks and all for free, boxes of it, and obviously illegal in New York. And I would set up our living room as a little I literally took boxes and set it up, displayed. And it's funny how my parents were cool with it. I guess maybe just ignorance is bliss. But like, imagine the liability there.
Yeah.
Like the kids coming, the neighborhood kids, like blowing a finger off or something. Like, but no, that right there, I made tons of money as a kid and bought comic books, of course.
Yeah.
But that was my early start. And then I didn't really, I went down the safe route of getting a job, going to college, getting a job. Staying there for a long time until I was in a position where I had a lot of free time because I was really good at what I was doing, and I could kind of, for lack of a better term, phone it in.
Yeah.
Because I had been there for 8-9 years. So I started a video game company called Play America. Which failed fast because we were was a tournament, video tournaments live, like via LAN.
Yeah.
So we would get, and it started in my basement,
Wow.
20 geeks, playing Halo in a sweaty, dark basement. And then I turned it into a business and started renting venues, and dozens of kids would come out to fight for the opportunity to get a big fake check, and then Xbox Live came out,
Wow.
which crushed everything. Because
Yeah.
why am I going to go to that venue when I can just do this from home?
Yeah.
So that was my first real as an adult, creating a business and figuring out systems and putting teams in place. And then I went back to corporate. I didn't leave my job. I was doing that while I was working full time.
Yeah.
But then I got laid off a couple of times. And the second time is when I really start to reevaluate my life.
Yeah.
We were having a child, our second, and I experienced being in corporate America and working, 9 to 9, putting in all the blood, sweat, and tears with no equity.
Yeah.
And seeing what I could do for other companies, and missing out on my first child's life.
Yeah.
Because I was never home. I didn't want to do that again when my wife was pregnant with our second. So I started looking over options. Like, what else can I do? Do I invest in stock? I see we've got some savings here. We've got some runway. Maybe it's time to write a new chapter in life, you know? Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So tell us a little bit about this new venture with On Air Brands and how that kind of all started, because you're doing some fun stuff with that, and very needed right now, I think, too. So tell us how that all launched into being.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book came out. It changed my life. So I said, no more creative for me. I'm retiring from creative. I'm done. 20 years is enough. And so I went the real estate investing route full time.
Yeah.
Just full time. I said, I'm all in. I educated myself. I surrounded myself with people that were crushing it in that space. Hired some coaches and mentors. Invested a lot of money into my education. Got really comfortable.
Yeah.
And bought, multifamily deals, started to get mixing into the networking, creating our own meetups, where now we are on the board of a 900-member organization, nonprofit for real estate investors. So once I got into that space and started to realize my superpower is calling me as far as being a creative in a very left brain atmosphere and environment, where everybody's all about the numbers and analytics and ROI. Who's doing your branding, Eric? And who did your website and your logo and your business cards? And I'm like, me. I did all of that.
Yeah.
So one friend turned into another friend that I'm helping. Word of mouth turned into, I'm going to help that guy. I can't do it all, so let me hire a freelancer. Freelancer turned into 3 freelancers. All of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I think I have a company here, and I can't call it Cabral Design anymore. I need to give ownership to other people so they feel like they own it too. So then that's where On Air Brands was birthed. Yeah.
Now, what kind of services and products do you offer people?
Yeah, so what we do now, and we pivoted from the typical agency logo branding and website design to podcast creation and social media marketing for those podcasts. And then what happens through this journey of creating your own community through podcasting and pushing it out through social media is eventually you want to get into meetups and networking and
Oh,
groups and
okay.
and having your community meet live.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've created a live streaming service.
Yeah.
So what we do is we embed ourselves into your networking event, your expo,
Oh, okay.
and we have boots on the ground, people interviewing the business owners at that, the business affiliates,
Yeah.
the other small businesses that are there just to network and meet people. So we give everyone a platform, aside from the people that are organizing the event.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are involved who are attending also get an opportunity to shine.
Super cool. I want to talk a little bit about content creation and storytelling here. I know that helping those podcasts that you work with, helping some of the events and things, part of what you do is help people create content, but more importantly, the narrative. And I don't think many people are, I think, jaded to the fact that they're not doing as well as they think they are. So what do they need to really do to step back and see objectively, like, hey, maybe I should get some help here?
Yeah, I mean that's always the constant struggle for a lot of people is like, okay, I know I need to put stuff out there, but what am I going to talk about?
Right.
So I can only speak from experience and tell people what I did and what's worked for me and for clients is document your journey. So if you are an early investor or you're an early business owner and you don't feel, you hit with the imposter syndrome, I often say just put it out there. Tell people that you're building. Tell
Yeah.
people that you're experiencing this.
Yeah.
Offer the value that you've had from your experience. So I was often talking about what I was leveraging from corporate America, what I learned from my experience building teams internally, and how I'm applying it to my businesses now.
Yeah.
And then also having the opportunity to network with folks like you, and also springboard off their experiences.
Yeah.
So like sharing and building a community based off of everyone's journey to inspire other people who want to do this.
When I think inspire is what a lot of businesses are lacking right now. You could even say, and I've been beating up on Apple lately, a company I love dearly, but they've lost their ability to inspire. Yeah. And in that, they've lost the power of their tribe. So inspiration is one of those things that's easy to say you should inspire someone. Mm-hmm. Your brand should inspire. But to actually put that into practice is much harder to do. So how do you help people really find those places that inspire and drive a place where people feel like they belong in that community or tribe, or a place where people feel like this really pushes me into the future I was born to be a part of, or whatever that is for the brand or company or organization or individual thought leader? How can they really come back and understand how to inspire that audience? Ultimately, that's going to lead to transaction for business. That's going to lead for belonging from the standpoint of engagement. So how do we get that inspire point?
First and foremost is, be true to your story. Put it out there. Be genuine. Don't fake the funk. Don't make things up. Just tell your story as it's happening, the trials and tribulations, the successes, the failures, and people will come to you. People want to relate to that. People want to know you're human.
Yeah.
So, for example, I had to do a video promotion for our new website that's launching.
Yeah.
And I did a video and I messed up at the end. And my team was there and I was like, I got to do it over. It was so perfect. They're like,
Yeah.
no, actually leave it in.
Yeah.
Because it humanizes you and you're not a robot. And I was like, that's a great idea. So then I just cut it with bloopers, all the outtakes that beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
So that's like a somewhat silly example of how it works. But I think that if you become relatable and you don't try to come off as perfect,
Yeah.
People will really appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
And they'll just gravitate towards you.
Yeah.
And it will inspire people in the long run because they'll say, oh, you know what? I don't have to have a perfect message when
Yeah.
I go onto Facebook Live or
Yeah.
whatever platform.
Well, and I think that's an interesting point because whether it's the influencer space or business, we are telling people right now, the buzzword is authenticity. On the flip side, we have this narrative that says you have to craft the perfect persona. The two can't coexist. They collide and it's messy. What is the thing we need to get back to? What is it that is true authenticity, not authenticity that is masking itself as something it's not?
Yeah. Honestly, nothing comes to mind with that question. That's a tough question because, I can only operate with, the tools that I'm given, and that I try my best to come from the heart and to tell people in full transparency what it is I'm doing. Obviously not cry about it, and complain. A lot of people use these platforms as like a therapist couch.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that. Although I do say if you do that, the way to course correct or the way to actually leverage that type of content is to tell people what you've learned from that mistake. Right. So that they know like, okay, yeah, they're feeling it too. My coach, is human and they're making mistakes. But what did I extract from that experience, and how can I course correct that or make sure that doesn't happen again or make it better?
Yeah. As we wrap up today's show, I want to kind of circle back to on-air brands and what you're building. Who are people that should be considering using you? What do they look like?
So our avatar and the majority of our clients are multiple business owners. So they have businesses that all have ancillary businesses that support each other and complement each other. I myself am an avatar for that. I'm a real estate investor with several businesses in that space, and then On-Air Brands helps all of those businesses. So some of our clients, they're real estate investors or they're in the tech industry, but they are investors or they invest in stock. They have other businesses that need to have one platform so that they can tell their message in one place that supports all of their businesses.
Yeah, very cool. How are you finding purpose in what you do?
Freedom.
Okay. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
We mentioned authenticity. And one of the painful things as entrepreneurs is saying where we're struggling. So for you, if you feel comfortable, the question would be, where is a place that maybe as a business, you're facing a challenge and you're working to overcome that?
Right now, it's all about scaling.
Okay.
Putting systems and processes in place that are efficient, because we're constantly trying and tweaking whatever it is we're implementing. And unfortunately, the people that are involved become guinea pigs.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we're doing is trying to scale and trying to make sure that we build teams and systems and processes so that we can service and help more and more people.
Yeah.
So that's really our biggest challenge right now. I'm absorbing as much information as I can, as far as scaling, if someone talks about like they're scaling, I'm talking to Donnie about it. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? I need to implement this stuff. And how do you find good people? And like, when do you hire HR? And there's all these things and there's all these, entrepreneurs and business owners who have been in it much longer than I have can tell me the necessary steps because there's the blueprint there that I need to follow. So that's really the biggest challenge right now.
Now you're building something that has long goals and visions. What's the big goal? Where do you want this to end up?
Oh man, complete transparency.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we can edit this out maybe later. But no, I do tell people, and I tell people that are in the company that ultimately I do want to sell the company at some point.
Yeah.
So I've learned through coaching that you have to have one of two things. When you're building a company, know that your end goal is either legacy and you're going to pass this on to the next generation to own and operate, or you're going to sell it.
Okay.
So On-Air Brands is being looked at even in our infancy and evaluated to what it's worth.
Yeah.
And if we want to take on partners and a board.
Yeah.
Which, I will always feel like I have equity and stake in the company, even if it were sold. But ultimately, it goes back to real estate investing.
Yeah.
Because say it did sell for $5 million, say, I would use that capital, which what we call in the industry a capital event. Creating a capital event for yourself will allow me to invest in more real estate.
Yeah.
So that's really the ultimate goal right there.
Super cool. Erik, thanks so much for taking time out, being with us, sharing your story, and being super transparent.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
In a moment, we'll be back to wrap up today's episode. In today's show, Erik and I talked a lot about authenticity versus persona. This is a message that is significant and important to me. I think so many people are struggling with this. They want to create that image, cultivate themselves to a place where it's like keeping up with the Joneses in a social media world. In that, they are losing themselves. They're losing the truth of who they are, where they are, and what they're struggling with at that current day and moment. We curate ourselves to be perfect. The reality is none of us are perfect. All of us are struggling with different things. We struggle with life and often don't know where to turn. So today, if you are feeling like what you're sharing with the world isn't really measuring up to who you are or where you're at, you need to take a few minutes to step back and really think about what's going on in my life and get around some friends, get around a community to help you process those things that are going on. If you are not being authentic, open, and transparent, then you are showing a caricature of yourself and not the fullness of who you are. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out there and air all of your dirty laundry. Just show it to the world. But what I am saying is if you're not being real with at least your core group, with the people around you, and you're not really sharing what's going on at those deep levels, then things aren't going to be going well for you. And you're always going to struggle with that tension of feeling authentic with your message, feeling authentic with what you share on social media channels, and authentic even in face-to-face encounters at networking events and other things like that. So take a moment today and think about authenticity. Think about your persona. Think about how you are showing up in the world. I hate that term, but I'm going to use it. And start taking a glance at what you could be doing to make the world a little bit more real, your world a little bit more real, your community a little bit more authentic in what's going on. Once again, we want to thank today's guest, Erik Cabral, for taking time out and sharing his story. Go check out what he's doing and what he's building. It's super, super cool. We also want to thank our friends over at Podcast Row and Stand Up New York for hosting this event and allowing us to interview Erik at this event. Super honored to be a part of what Donnie and the team over at Podcast Row are building. It's super fun to be a part of it. Go check them out, podcast-row.com. We also want to thank you for tuning into today's show. It is an honor to have you along for the ride. We do this show for you, and I hope it's challenged you and encouraged you on the journey of chasing your own dreams and ideas. We truly believe that you were created for something awesome. It may not look like being the President of the United States. It may not look like being a global philanthropist and changing the lives of millions of people, but your greatness might be impacting just the people around you, and that's pretty amazing. It may be starting the next business that changes culture and civilization. Well, no matter what you were created to do, I want to encourage you to take some steps, to take some risk, to move those dreams and ideas that you have, the things that are inside of you forward. A dream never chased is a dream never encountered. So go encounter those dreams, encounter the things inside of you. We would love to connect with you and hear your story, so head on over to jumblethink.com. You can connect with us on all of our social media channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can also drop me an email, hello@jumblethink. That comes right to me, and I'd love to start that conversation. Now it's your turn to get out there, to chase those dreams, to change the world around you.
Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.